Welcome to Giant Cocktails, a podcast where two lifelong fans talk about the San Francisco Giants while drinking homemade cocktails. Now, here are your hosts, Ben and Matthew Henry.
Welcome to the final in-season episode of Giant Cocktails for 2024. I am your host, Ben Henry, alongside my brother. He has been a bark, he's been dewy-eyed, a recidivist, nonplussed, astral, and a marplot. But, Matthew, you were always the homeostatic Matthew Henry. How you doing, my friend?
I'm slightly below average, Ben. That's how I'm doing.
That's what I like about you, man, because, you don't make me look quite so bad.
Yeah, you hang out with me, right? I mean, just like the rest of the National League West.
That's right. They're like, oh, look, there's that guy Matthew and his slightly less talented brother Ben. They don't think about how I'm bad. They just think how I'm slightly less talented than you. Okay. So, yeah, you buoy me up with your homeostasis. Oh, man.
Was there ever any doubt how the season would finish?
I don't think so. No. And the signs were there from very early on. Very early on. I think the signs were there within the first 10 days of the season. And we all, I think all of us, really, really didn't want to believe it, but some of us came around sooner than others, like the cynics like me. You know, I knew by halfway through the season. I was like, okay, well, halfway through the season, this is the team. But you, Matthew, you stayed optimistic through it all. Okay, no, you didn't. Things were really dark for you twice. You got really dark.
This was the hardest season yet on Giant Cocktails for me, man. It's so hard to keep that optimism at this point.
Yeah, it really is. And I think what happened was just this was a total rug pull of a season, right? Like, we thought that this was going to be the year where they finally turned it around, where the whole master plan of Farhan Zaidi was going to come together because he'd finally altered his ways. He got rid of the really weird manager, the barefoot grass walking, never talking, zen, platoon crazy manager. And he finally signed some free agents.
Some good free agents.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, you're right. He finally signed some good free agents who hadn't been injured the year before. I mean, he did both of that, but but anyway, he did the big things. And we thought, finally, okay, so now we're getting that smart analytical guy who also does some things the normal way, and this will fix everything. And what we got, Matthew, was one game better than last year. That's what all those changes added up to.
Blake Snell was worth one more win.
That's right. That's right. So, I thought before we daved into the show that I would use the icebreaker question to actually just do a check-in, because I know that this was a hard season for you.
Yeah.
And this is a show, what is the point of Giant Cocktails? And I'm sure many of you have asked yourself this many times. and the point is to be fun, to have fun. That is the point of Giant Cocktails, to have fun.
That's right, 80s Villager on Apple Podcast
right.
Reviews. We have fun, okay? We're not just inane and ignorant, all right? Still bitter about that. Still bitter.
Yeah,
sorry.
Clearly. Folks, if you want us to talk about...
It was the dull part. It was the dull word that he used that really got to me. I mean, we may be ignorant and inane, Ben, but we ain't dull.
Yeah, no, that is true. We are not dull. And that's the point of the show. The point of the show is to be fun. It's a fan-based show. So yeah, sometimes we try to be all smart and we try to dive deep in, show how smart we are and explain things. But look, at the end of the day, fans blowing smoke. That's the point of the show. This is a fan-based podcast, and it's about having fun, because following your baseball team should be fun. And so I thought what we would do right now, Matthew, is how are you doing, man? Are you okay? Like, how are you feeling about the 2024 season, and how are you feeling about the San Francisco Giants?
That's a good question. Thank you for checking in on my feelings, Ben.
You're welcome.
That's very 2024 of you. First of all, I thought the point of our podcast was to get drunk and talk about the Giants. I think that was the conversation we had like 5 years ago about, hey, we should just have a podcast where we get drunk and talk about the Giants.
I think it went like this. You know what would be fun? Is if we made a podcast while we got drunk and talked about the San Francisco Giants.
Okay, you're right. The fun part did come first. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Well, and to answer your question, how I am, I have 2 psychology degrees, one from an Ivy League institution.
Wow.
And at that Ivy League institution, I learned about a concept called learned helplessness. And there was a study that was done a long time ago that has always stuck in my head because it was pretty damn cruel. But they basically had this like 2 metal plates with a little net in between, and it was and a dog was on one side, and they would shock the dog, and the dog would jump over the net into the other side and spare himself from being shocked. Well, then they would shock the other side, and he'd jump back over to save himself from being shocked. And they would do this over and over again until the dog realized that no matter what he did, he was going to get shocked. And so he would just lay down and let himself get shocked. And that is called learned helplessness, and what it's like to be a San Francisco Giants fan. Because, every year we're led to believe that things are going to be good, and then they aren't. And so right now, Ben, I'm kind of at that moment of just resignation. Okay, that's where we're at. I'm just going to lay down and let myself be shocked because it's just abuse me, Giants. I'm done. And that's how I'm feeling, Ben.
Folks, we're going to pause for a moment.
I'm okay. Really. You don't need to call anyone. I'm good.
And we're back. Matthew, that might have been the darkest moment of Giant Cocktails. Just right there. Right there. I was like, hey, we did this podcast to have fun. I wanted to check in and see how you're feeling as a fan. And you just bummed everybody out. This is the biggest bummer.
Sorry, folks. I got people just like, oh, he's right. I got people now who are really depressed. Just have a drink. It makes you feel better, guys.
Yeah, that's not what don't hide your, no. I mean, have a drink, but don't do it because you're sad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't do that. That's a bad advice.
No. Okay, wow. I was just going to say, man, I'm sad because my team isn't winning.
Well, isn't that what I said?
No, man, I think that was so much more. You said a lot more than that.
Oh.
You said a lot more than that.
I meant I'm sad because my team is bad.
Wow. I don't even know how to follow that up because I was going to be all like, well, I'm just disappointed, Matthew. I just don't see where this team is going. I just don't see how it's going to get any better. It just seems like it's destined for mediocrity.
And you're right.
And that's what I'm going to go with because I can't follow up the poor electrocuted, anyway, today is Sunday, September 29th, as we record this podcast. It's the last day of the season. Your San Francisco Giants went 80-82 this past season.
Woohoo! Homeostasis!
Achieving the amazing, but really quite predictable homeostatic state of 2 games under 500. And I would like to commend the scientist Matthew Henry for identifying this early on and predicting that this was likely to be the outcome once he got over his own personal bias and really just let the discipline of the science take over. So congratulations to you, Matthew.
Thank you.
But I'm afraid you're going to be arrested for torturing animals.
To be clear, I did not torture the animals. I read about somebody else torturing them, okay? Back in the 30s or 40s, okay?
Yeah, way back. And that would not fly today.
No.
I mean, science still does some pretty horrible things, but I think that one would probably not fly today. Anyway, your San Francisco Giants also went 3-3 this week.
Slightly better than homeostasis, so woo!
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Slightly better than homeostasis. To achieve that homeostatic state. And I think they achieved the last good thing that the 2024 Giants were going to do for anybody. And that was by taking 2 out of 3 against the Arizona douchebags. And thereby perhaps knocking them out of the playoffs. The D-bags find themselves today uncertain if their season is over or not, if 89 wins was enough, because now they have to wait for the Mets and the Braves to finish a doubleheader. And oddly, the D-bags want them to want the doubleheader to be swept by one side or the other. It doesn't matter. They want one team to win both games, and if that happens, the D-bags will make the playoffs. But if that doubleheader is split, then the D-bags will not make the playoffs. And that means the D-bags are probably not going to make the playoffs because, Matthew, what always happens in a doubleheader?
They split.
They always split. What's worse is that if the Braves win Game 1, they have absolutely no incentive to try to win Game 2 because they will have achieved the 5th wildcard spot. In fact, if the Braves win either of the 2 games, they will achieve the 5th wildcard spot. They cannot finish in the 6th wildcard spot. They can only be eliminated. It's weird. I don't know how it all works. The Mets, on the other hand, have an option. If they win Game 1, they will guarantee themselves the 6th wildcard spot, but they could improve that by sweeping the doubleheader to finish in the 5th spot. So they can sort of try to choose, do they want to play the Padres or the Brewers?
Brewers.
Yeah, and if they want to face the Brewers, that means they want to stay in the 6th spot because that is actually that is the best wildcard spot. As we have talked about on this show many times, the last wildcard spot is actually the best wildcard spot because you play the worst of the 3 division winners, which is usually worse than the best wildcard team. And so the Mets will have that choice. If they win Game 1, they could just bag it on Game 2. And so all of that means it's very likely that the D-bags will be knocked out. And that is because the Giants played them so well. So good job, Giants, for ruining your rivals' chances to make the playoffs, maybe. After that, they came home, and I don't know. I don't even know. Blake Snell decided not to make his last start because he had nothing left to prove.
Logan Webb did make his last start because he had nothing left to prove. Yeah.
And so we got to see Tristan Beck pitch in a start, which was nice. We got to see Hayden Birdsong put together another respectable start. One of many that he has made this year. And but at the end of the day, the Giants went 1-2 to limp in with a lackluster 80-82 season. And since this is the last game of the year, the last series of the year, I thought we should at least one more time review the standings.
No, we don't have to. It's over.
We do
It's
have to. We do have to.
Why? Why do we have to do this?
Because this is because otherwise they get away with it, Matthew.
All right, just get it over with.
The San Francisco Giants finished in 4th place in the National League West, 19 games ahead of the Rockies.
Serious? 19 games ahead?
19 games ahead of the Rockies. I am not kidding.
At least we're not the Rockies.
I mean, Bob, right? Like, as bad as this feels, like, I can't even with that team. Like, you know, the thing is like, I bet the White Sox will be better and good again before the Rockies are ever good again. Anyway, the Giants were in 4th place, 18 games out of 1st place, 9 games behind the perhaps playoff-less Arizona douchebags. They finished 13 games behind the San Diego Padres and 18 games behind our hated rivals, the Los Angeles Corpos, the most boring team in baseball. With that guy, he's a pretty good player, I guess. Anyway, in the wild card standings, things are not quite so miserable, but also not that great. The Giants finished, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 spots out of the last wild card spot, 9 games out of that same spot. Although I guess that could be even more. It could be 10 by tomorrow. We shall see. The point is, Matthew.
The point is that there are more teams ahead of us than below us. I mean,
yeah.
Well, I don't know why we're going through this. It's painful, man.
It's painful, but necessary. But necessary. You know what's also necessary? We got to put some blame. We got to point some fingers, Matthew. We got to figure out who it is that is responsible for all of this mess. And so we are going to give out season grades to groups. We're going to give out season grades to the players, to the coaches, and to the front office. And we also have to do our month 6 awards. But we're not actually going to do that. It doesn't matter how you did in September. We don't care. But we are going to give out the same awards that we usually do for the entire season. And then at the end of the show, we're going to finish on an up note when we go over all of our preseason predictions.
Wait, what? Wait, we're going to go over our predictions?
We are. And we're going to go over our midseason predictions that we made when we realized how bad our preseason predictions were.
Oh, well, then they'll be much better after the midseason.
You would think that, wouldn't you? Somehow there were still some doozies in there. There were some doozies. And so that's the show. But before we do all of that, Matthew, you have to ask us our trivia question.
Yes, today's trivia question, Ben, is simple. When was the last time the Giants finished 80-82? AKA homeostatic.
Last year.
Okay.
Final answer.
All right. Well, that was simple as well. So we'll find out how wrong Ben is at the end of the episode.
Oh. I mean, they do that every year. Every year in the Farhan Zaidi reign, it's been 80 and 82, right?
It feels that way. Yes, it does. It's actually been worse if you throw out the 107, 108. Anyway.
Enough with the banter. Let's talk cocktails.
Thank you, Bob. Yes, it is time to talk cocktails.
What are you drinking, Matthew?
Well, Bob, I'm drinking a cocktail that I think that we've made before, way back when. It was under the name Gold Rush or something, and I tried to make this for a charity cocktail event, or a charity poker event, actually, for high school sports last night. And it was one of my batch cocktails that I made, and nobody wanted it. I have so much left. So much. Like I have literally, if I did the math, probably about 80 ounces left of this ginger whiskey sour that I'm bringing to the table. And I'm bringing it because it's a damn good cocktail. And I don't know why people didn't want it. I think it was because they really liked my old fashions and kept coming back for those. And I had to batch 3 extra batches on the fly. But that's what I'm drinking. So the ginger whiskey sour, Ben, it's very simple. 2 ounces of bourbon, 3/4 ounces of ginger syrup, and 3/4 ounces of lemon juice. You mix all those into a cocktail shaker with ice, shake until well chilled, double strain into a rocks glass with ice, and you can garnish it with a lemon wedge if you like. It's very tasty. You can find out how to make ginger syrup on one of the episodes of the Perfect Sip podcast, because that's the very first thing that Ben teaches you on that podcast over there.
Episode 1. You can find that recipe. It's even in the show notes.
That's a tasty cocktail.
Yes, Bob, I agree. Now, a bunch of drunk poker players didn't, but I agree. It is a tasty cocktail.
What are you drinking, Ben?
Well, thank you for asking, Bob. That is very kind of you. Today, Bob, I am drinking a cocktail that we just featured on Happy Hour over on The Perfect Sip. I did a very fancy whiskey sour, a kicked up whiskey sour, and I'm calling it Ben's Whiskey Sour. And if you want to hear more about that cocktail, you can go listen to the Happy Hour episode from last Friday on The Perfect Sip. So what was in Ben's Whiskey Sour? Well, it had 2 ounces of high-proof rye whiskey. I like Rittenhouse rye. 1 ounce of simple syrup, 1 ounce of lemon juice, 2 dashes of Angostura bitters, and a small egg white, or roughly half an ounce, and then red wine for a float. To make it, you combine all of the ingredients except the wine in a shaker with no ice. And you shake that for 5 to 10 seconds to do a dry shake to emulsify your egg whites. Well, to emulsify all the liquids with your egg whites. Anyway, then you open the shaker and fill it with ice, and then you shake it until chilled. Strain that into a rocks glass filled with fresh ice, and then you top that off with a red wine float on top of the foamy head, and it'll create a nice little tie-dye looking effect. And then you're going to add 2 brandied cherries as your garnish, and that is how you make the super kicked up Ben's Whiskey Sour. And that's what I'm drinking, Bob.
That's a tasty cocktail.
It's actually really good. It's so good.
Something about whiskey sours, man. So good.
Yeah.
And you need them when you're at a game 162 of a homeostatic season.
That is true. That is true. That is true. You know, because a whiskey sour never disappoints, but a homeostatic baseball team
always
pretty much disappoints you like every 3 days.
All right. Well, it's time to give out some season grades and awards, Ben.
That's right.
And normally at the end of every month, we would give awards to the players that kind of showed up the previous month, right? But we're not doing that. We're doing a overall season grade, right?
Right. We're going to give grades to the players, to the coaching staff, and to the front office. And we're going to start with the players.
So, Ben, if you were to give a grade to the players that played this year for the 2024 Giants, what would it be?
Well, I think compared to the rest of the teams out there, Matthew, I think they were kind of like a C- overall. But that's not how I'm evaluating them. These were the guys that were supposed to carry us into the postseason. And I think more than anyone, they share the blame for not making the playoffs this year. They get a big fat D from me. And I mean, a letter grade. Anyway, you go now. You go.
Okay, yeah, awkward. Okay, well, I see. I was going to do like a D-, but now I can't do that because that's anyway. My grade for the players, Ben, was just a slightly better than yours. I gave him a C-, and I gave him a C- because there were some bright spots, and then also, you know, injuries and things. I didn't necessarily want to blame that on the players.
What? What?
So but they didn't live up to expectations for sure. And so I decided that they were given a D-.
Maybe don't run in
C-,
yeah.
not D-.
Yeah. You're giving them a pass for the
not a small D, just a C-.
Just a C-. Okay. So let me get this straight. You're giving them a pass for the injuries. So like running into a wall or rolling your ankle when you're jumping over a box. Like, that's not your fault.
Yeah, kind of. I feel like that's just like the baseball gods just like smiting you.
Okay. Fair. Fine. Whatever. I have no such soft spot in my heart. This was a D effort out of the San Francisco Giants this year. Let's move on.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess, you know, we have a new manager this year, right? It was we moved on from the Gabe Kapler stepdad regime into, two-time manager of the year, Bob Melvin, or 3-time. Is it 3-time? I'll lose track of how many times.
It's more than Gabe Kapler had.
Yes, but Gabe Kapler had
Gabe
one.
only had one. Yeah.
And so if you were to evaluate Bob Melvin, Ben, what grade would you give him?
Well, I'm kind of giving this to Bob and his coaching staff, just all together. I'm giving him a C-. I'm giving the Bob and the coaching staff a C-. And I'll tell you this, because I understand why he's a good manager. Like, after seeing him manage up close, it's because he plays the best players. Like, that's just what he does. You know, he fills up the right lineup card, and he puts the best players out there, and that he believes are the best players to give them the chance to win. And I think that his perception of who is the best is pretty good. It's definitely not perfect. Like, I think he's made some mistakes on putting certain guys out there, like Tyler Fitzgerald didn't get the shot when he should have, those sorts of things. On the downside, this team seemed to be unprepared constantly. And there were messes that were having to be cleaned up constantly. Like the stolen base thing, the not holding runners thing, the not, watching too many fastballs down the middle thing, the sloppy defense, and all of these things, they only got fixed when the writers were writing about them. Like the coaches should see that before the writers do. And no, it just, so that was really, really disappointing. And honestly, I just feel like they took a huge step back in that area when it is compared to the Kapler regime, which really annoys me because I don't want to give Kapler any credit for anything. C-.
Okay, well, I agree with you on that, and I think that that's more egregious than a C-. I give Bob Melvin a D, and because he is, well, to your point, there were so many. I mean, if you're having infield practice before a game on game 156, okay, that's a problem. All right. And so I feel like there were so many times that, that we didn't, at least with the Gabe Kapler regime, you knew that there were plans. There were things that were, players were going up with a plan. We didn't always agree with them, but they had a hitting plan. We don't hear about any of that. There was just, it seemed like the fundamentals weren't as emphasized with this team as they were in the past. And that led to some mistakes. And I feel like there's a few losses that were probably pinned on Bob Melvin. And so, I feel like if you're going to put together some blame, then Bob needs to be, and his coaching staff needs to be at the top. And I feel like they can't go into next year with the same coaching staff. I feel like there needs to be some changes, particularly with the hitting instructors, because that was pitiful. And it just, I feel like there's got to be some accountability there.
Okay, I agree. It wasn't good. I just think the players were more responsible for their play than the managers and coaches were.
Okay. Well, all right. Now, Ben, I want you to just take a deep breath. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because we're going to talk about the front office, aka Hoboland.
That's right, Hoboland, where the hobo lives, where the hobo rules. Yeah.
And so if you had to give a grade to good old Farhan and his regime, what would you give him?
F+.
Ooh, a plus.
A plus. Yeah, a plus. Yeah. There's a plus in there. And that's because, I think I already mentioned this at the top of the show, they did the things that we wanted them to do. They got rid of Kapler, right? Not that I wanted that necessarily. I mean, I think Kapler had to go based on what happened at the end of last year. But a lot of people did. A lot of people wanted that to go. They wanted somebody else who had a different way to, a view of the world to run the team day to day. And so they did that. And then he went out and he signed the big free agents. Yes, they took a run at the top free agent like they always do. But then they signed the next guys down in Blake Snell and Matt Chapman. And so they did the things, and that's the plus. That's where the plus comes from. However, all of that wasn't enough. He signed those guys, but he still did it the Farhan Zaidi way. Like, could he just do it normally and sign those guys, I don't know, before spring training starts? No, he couldn't. He had to do it late. And in the Snell case, he had to do it so late that it basically got us half of a season of Blake Snell. And And beyond that, though, I also hold him responsible for a lot of the bad play that we talked about, because a lot of that bad play came from the young players. And it's not Bob Melvin and his coaching staff to make sure that these guys are getting well coached at the minor league level. And these guys seem like they're coming up not knowing how to play baseball. And so I put that on Farhan too. So, and then, just everything up to this point. This is Farhan's organization now. He is responsible for it from top to bottom. It has been 6 years. You can't blame any of this on the former regime anymore, and it's meh. So F plus.
Okay. Well, I see what you're saying, and I don't disagree with any of that. I gave him a D minus, but for many of the same reasons you gave him an F plus. Was just, he did the things. He signed the Snell. He signed Soler. He signed Jung-Hoo Lee, and Matt Chapman for that matter, So I think that there were things that he did this year that at least on paper gave the Giants a better chance of winning. And, I'm sure that if you go back to our episodes right at the beginning when that was done, we were very bullish on those moves. They didn't all work out. But I think we would have been even more angry at him had he done nothing. So that's why I gave him a D minus, because at least, he did the things that needed to be done, even if they didn't necessarily work out. But overall, I would agree. The Giants are now, that we see them from top to bottom, from rookie ball to AAA, those are all Farhan's players. And we should expect more. And so D minus was my grade.
All right. Well, we're going to dive more into that stuff, unfortunately, in episodes to come. But jovially. No more science stories from Matthew.
No more dogs getting injured. No.
Folks, I've learned my lesson. I'm never going to ask Matthew about his feelings again.
It's probably a good idea.
That's on me. That's my bad. That was totally my bad. But anyway, we got to move on because it's time to do. I'm really excited to get to the predictions because they're so wacky. They were so wacky. But first we got to give out our season awards. And as we did every month, we give out these same awards. So if you'll recall, the awards are the MVP, the Unsung Heroes, and then we would give out a Most Improved award because we had also every month an award where we nominated people for the Most Improved for the next month.
That's right.
We did that because we didn't want to say that those guys were the most disappointing. But you know what? After a homeostatic season, that's what we're going. We're going with most disappointing. Okay. So it's MVP, Unsung Heroes, and most disappointing. Okay. And let's start with MVP. Should we throw out some nominees?
Some options? Yeah, some nominees. Yeah. Okay, yes. Read the nominees, Ben.
All right. Well, honestly, Matthew, I looked high and low. I looked under every rock. I searched and I searched.
I give you credit. You were looking. It was hard to find a lot of nominees, wasn't it?
That's right. And so I came up with 3.
Okay.
And here they are.
Okay.
Logan Webb.
I like it. It's a good start.
Matt Chapman.
Okay, fair.
And I'm pretty proud of this one. Ryan Walker.
Oh. Okay, yeah, a little dark horse
Those are my 3
candidate.
nominees. Those were the guys that I felt like, they deserved it.
Okay, you're forgetting someone, though.
What? Who could I possibly be forgetting?
One, Joey Bart.
Joey did have a very good season, didn't he? Finally broke out. He finally did all the things that we've been waiting for him to do for so long. I mean, he did. He unfortunately got hurt for a month, and that was really disappointing. I think that was kind of when things went bad for his team, quite honestly.
Because he was the straw that stirred the drink. Yeah,
that's right. He was. Everybody said it was the rookie pitchers, but it was actually Joey Bart who carried the team. Unfortunately, Matthew, he did that for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I know it's a technicality, but he had a better season than Patrick Bailey, according to Baseball Reference.
He had a better season by far. by far, he had a better season than Patrick Bailey in B-WAR and practically every other offensive stat that you could declare. Things are a little weird over on Fangraphs. Fangraphs loves Patrick Bailey's ability to frame pitches. Like, they love it. They think that his framing was worth 4 wins. 3 wins at least.
Yeah, that seems a little sketchy to me.
That does seem a little sketchy. I don't know what's going on over there at Fangraphs. I think Patrick Bailey may have broke F-WAR.
They'll look into it. Anyway, okay. We'll eliminate him from this year's MVP discussion. But Ben, who's your MVP?
Ooh, I thought about this a long time, Matthew. And as much as I want to reward a good relief pitching, I just felt like that role wasn't as critical to the Giants this year as it might have otherwise been. So I went with the best player on the field. And he was the best player from day one until the end of the season. He was the guy who came closest to breaking the 30 home run curse. He was as good as advertised on offense and on defense. And that was amazing, right? He was advertised as being very good, and he was better than that. He was sublime on defense. And on offense, he was better than I expected. And I know a lot of people expected more than me, but he definitely, I think, is the Giants' best player pound for pound, and will be hopefully for many years to come. And that is Matt Chapman, my MVP.
Okay. No, that's a good one. Yeah, I think Matt Chapman is good, as you say, pound for pound. I don't know how much he weighs, but very good player. I really like that. Dad power really kind of powered him to some home runs at the end of the year.
Yeah,
maybe we could
nice to see too. Yeah.
Look forward to maybe 30 home runs next year. Because of the dad power, but I can't give it to him, Ben. I can't give my MVP to Matt Chapman. I don't care if he won the Willie Mack Award in his first year. He's a good guy. All that. I'm going with someone who's been around a while. The face of the franchise, Logan Webb, because Logan Webb you could count on. He was going to be there. He was like taxes and rain, right? It was going to happen. And so
like
I don't know. I made that up. I don't know. Just go with it. And so Logan Webb showed up every day and pitched over 200 innings. Can you imagine what the pitching staff would have looked like if Logan Webb wasn't there every 5th day to go like 8 or 9 innings? I can't imagine what that would have looked like. I mean, Ryan Walker's arm would have fallen off, Ben.
I think it's the only thing that if Logan Webb wasn't there, Farhan Zaidi wouldn't be here.
Totally.
Because this whole thing would be an utter catastrophe.
This is what I'm saying. So, and for that reason, he's my MVP.
Yeah, that's fair. He is extremely valuable in that regard. For me, I just wished he could have been just a little bit better at times.
Yeah, he did have a little funk there after the All-Star break. It was a little about a month where he didn't do much, but overall, I'm he's my guy. I like Logan Webb, and fact that I love how our 2 MVPs though both their parents follow us on Twitter.
Yeah, they do. We are a big hit with the players' parents.
That's right. Matt Chapman's mom and Logan Webb's dad both follow us on Twitter.
Hopefully they don't listen to the show, because they're definitely going to stop following us after that whole dog thing. But anyway, moving on. Let's get to the unsung hero of the season. This time I felt like there were a lot more nominees. This felt like a lot better award.
Well, that's because unsung hero is kind of like code for like you had little flashes of goodness, and that was pretty much the Giants.
Well, yeah, I mean, or filled a role that was sort of thankless,
or you came out of nowhere because nobody expected you.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so yes, there was a lot more opportunities, and that sort of like defines the San Francisco Giants, especially during the Farhan Zaidi era. Right,
exactly.
That's what he likes to do. He likes to find diamonds in the rough. Right, he likes to make lots of little bets on lots of guys, and occasionally they hit. All right. Well, so should I just rattle off all these names? Do you want to rattle them off?
No, you got to do it. Go for it.
All right. Well, here's all the nominees that I could think of. They are in no particular order. This is definitely random.
Okay.
But there is Tyler Fitzgerald, at one time the entire Giants offense. And this was after he made 3 relief appearances because he was one of the players that Bob Melvin didn't realize was good. Elliot Ramos, right? came out of nowhere, came up during that time when the offense was completely, all of the outfielders and the entire organization were hurt, and he was the only one left, and so they had to play him, and he never left the lineup after that. I can't believe I'm putting this guy's name on the list, but boy, he played good defense and had he had the most clutch hits, I think, the best batting average with runners in scoring position and all that sort of stuff, and just was sort of a clutch guy at the plate, even though he met most of my expectations at the plate, and that is Brett Wisely. Hayden Birdsong, who, since he showed up and appeared in the rotation, never left. Was he a Rookie of the Year candidate? No. But he acquitted himself well, and he filled a spot in the rotation when the Giants desperately needed it. Spencer Bivens started his pro career in France. What else do I have to say?
Nothing. Go on.
Yeah, story of the year. Sean Jelly.
Tallest player in Major League history. What else do you have to say?
Yeah, exactly. Inch for inch, maybe the best player on the Giants.
There you go. I like it.
And then Ryan Walker is also a nomination for the list.
I think you missed somebody.
I don't want to say it.
It's written right there, Ben. Just read it.
I'm not gonna do it. All right, fine. Michael Conforto, are you happy?
I am. Thank you. Yes.
All right. Why don't you go first? You tell us who you're.
Okay. Out of all those guys, I got to go with Ryan Walker as the unsung hero because, Camilo Doval's season just never got on track.
No.
And the Giants desperately needed somebody to just step into that role. And Ryan Walker did it. I haven't looked at the whole league, but I'm guessing that he was probably better than just about everybody in the league. And so I feel like he was definitely an unsung hero in that respect. Just nasty stuff. When pitching ninja is doing overlays of your pitches and they're going all different directions, that you're pretty nasty. And so I could see Ryan Walker being our closer for the next few years. And so I think he was definitely the unsung hero that has emerged as a star.
Oh, this is an excellent pick. I mean, I agree. He is one of the nastiest relievers in all of baseball. I think Clase, the closer for the Guardians, is probably ahead of him for sure, and maybe a couple of others. But this year, he was absolutely elite, and following up a great rookie season as well. He is definitely the closer to come, and he will have a stranglehold on that role until he gets hurt, or I don't know. Every closer eventually implodes. So that'll happen, but
exactly. That's why I said a few years. I wasn't going to give him a long career.
It'll be a few years. Every closer has one of those years, and that's what happened to Camilo this year. This is one of those years. I don't know why everybody's all bent out of shape. It's fine. Right. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Let's move on. It's time for most disappointing. Speaking of closers.
Wait, but you didn't do unsung hero.
No, it's fine.
Who's your unsung hero?
I don't want to know.
I see it written right there.
No,
Ben.
it's.
I don't. You must have been. You had a couple cocktails before you did that, but
I mean, he's the epitome of unsung hero, right? Because
nobody remembers that he actually did anything.
That's right. Because he always does it when it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But boy, he had a decent season. 17% above average in OPS plus.
Who had a decent season?
Shut up. He hit 20 home runs.
Who hit 20 home runs?
His batting average was not that great, but you know what? Then you pointed me out. You pointed this out to me. You said, Ben, his batting average wasn't that great, but that's because the league's batting average isn't that great. He's only slightly below average. So with his 237 batting average, not as bad as it looks. So, unsung hero. There you go. Let's go on to most disappointing.
Yeah, just say his name.
Michael Conforto, okay?
Okay,
I admit
all right,
it.
Thank you.
I admit it.
All right. So most disappointing. Okay. Now, I'm gonna go first because I don't want you to be like you just got yourself worked up. I need you to relax a little bit.
That's fine. That's good.
So for me, there's two players that come to mind, and one of them is strictly as a fan. Okay, it's not like baseball related. Strictly as a fan, Wilmer, I love you. I love you, Wilmer Flores, and I'm really sorry that I had to end this way. So in that respect, I am disappointed because he was our best offensive player last year, and then this year he just fell off a cliff, and then he got injured, and just so Wilmer, I could not mention him.
Right.
But I think also what was most disappointing was the injury to Jung-Hoo Lee.
Ooh, yeah.
And we were so excited to see him play. He was going to bring a new brand of baseball to the Bay Area. The Giants were going to be electrified by this young center fielder with all this charisma. And, and then he ran into a wall. And so, now we got to wait. So that was disappointing because I feel like, that would have been really fun to see. Although I guess arguably we wouldn't have known about Elliot Ramos had Jung-Hoo Lee not got injured.
That's true. The Giants probably would have totally missed on that because certainly the people evaluating talent at the minor league level have no idea what they're doing. At least when it comes to that element of it.
All right. Who's your player?
I don't think there's any question as to who this is. For me, this is, I think, I get it. You're disappointed in these guys, not because of how they played, but partially because of how they played, but because of how their seasons went and how it made you feel as a fan. And it was disappointing, without a doubt. It's both of those things for my pick. Camilo Doval is my favorite San Francisco Giant. And this was supposed to be his year where he was like breakout star in Major League Baseball. And, even had a bobblehead where you have a saves counter. And how ironic is that? And I have that now. And I count our Giants cocktail episodes on it. But, wow, what a disappointing season this was for him. An utter disaster. Like, he went from one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball to the, I think at times, the worst reliever on the team. And, no, I'm not counting like the Dalton Jeffries and the Mitch Whites and the
Nick Avila's.
Yeah, the Nick Avila's, Spencer Warrens. But, but of the other guys.
Yeah.
Like, he was the worst one. Now, I don't think he should have gotten sent to AAA. I thought that was a stupid, weird move that still boggles my mind. But, like, he didn't deserve to be the closer. And it was just really bad. It was really bad. And it was very disappointing, both from a baseball standpoint and also as a big fan of his. So, yeah, Camilo Doval, my most disappointing, for sure.
Okay. All right. And, folks, on Camilo Bobblehead Doll counter, it says 260 because today is our 260th episode.
That's right.
All right, Ben, as you alluded to, we got to look back. We got to hearken back to our sageness, our wisdom that we embarked, our predictions of the 2024 season. And as you mentioned, I'd forgotten this actually, that we got them so bad at the beginning that we actually redid them halfway through the year.
That's right. We did.
So I think we got to do this kind of in lightning round style because we're a little later than we'd like to be. So let's go through the predictions and we'll just kind of shout them out and we can kind of talk about them if something kind of comes up. But the first one, Ben, was we predicted that a San Francisco Giant will win Rookie of the Year. But the question was, which one? There was Harrison, Lee, Wynn, Luciano, Matos, Black, Wisenhunt. It was funny because I actually went back and listened to our episodes to kind of see what we said. Nobody mentioned Tyler Fitzgerald, who will probably get the most Rookie of the Year votes for any of the rookies on the Giants. Ben did say it could be someone out of the blue. And so kudos to that because I guess Tyler Fitzgerald from out of the blue. But we both agreed that it was going to be Jung-Hoo Lee, and look how wrong we were. So there was that.
That's right. I also said about him, and I mentioned this in the midseason review, but I also wanted to mention it now because I'm so proud of it. I also said that he was going to win the batting title by hitting .420, and he was going to have a .690 on base percentage.
Nice.
YOLO. That's what I said.
So, yeah, okay. Well, that was our next one, right? He was going to finish top 5 batting average. Ben said that he would win it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I said top 5. You said he was going to win it. We were both very, very wrong on that.
Yep. Nope. Can't win it if you're hurt.
Yep. Nope. And then we went into how many wins because we always try to predict how many wins we were going to have. Ben, you were a politician on this one.
That's right.
You gave yourself the widest berth possible in being right.
I think it was a 12 game stretch that I gave myself.
You said that the floor was 76 and the ceiling was 88.
Yep.
But I think you had a little bit to drink at that point and you predicted 88 wins.
I did.
But you did say that winning season isn't guaranteed with this roster. That was a quote.
I also said that. because I knew something like what happened could happen, and it did.
Yeah. And I was feeling optimistic. I feel like I couldn't be less than your 88 wins. So I went with 89 to be more optimistic than you. But my gut said 87, which still my gut was not anywhere near right.
That's right. And I said,
so Ben, you did say that you were going to say, what were you going to say if they finished between 76 and 88 wins?
I told you so. And I did. Yeah. I told you so. But you know what, Matthew? We did this again because we knew we were so wrong by the time that the All-Star break came around. So we redid our picks again. And so we took different. You actually we delayed this by an entire episode so you could go do the math. Do you remember what you did?
I did. I projected what their winning percentage was at the time, and then I did some counting on my fingers and toes, and just and a little bit of magic dust, and I came up with 83 wins.
That's right. You took the same optimism, and you acted like that what they had done up to that point didn't happen. It did happen because that's the number you had to take, but then you took the same winning percentage that you thought they were going to have for the whole season, and you applied that to what would remain.
That's right. I did do that. Yes,
because optimism.
Because it beat learned helplessness, Ben. Okay, I had to just give myself something.
That's fair. That's fair. You know what I did? I took the winning percentage that they had at the time, and I applied that to the rest of the season. And you know what I got with that?
79 wins.
79 wins. So I was wrong.
By one win.
By one game.
Look at those Giants outperforming you.
Yeah, they outperformed me by one game. Way to go, guys. But then we asked Matthew, are they going to make the playoffs?
Oh, that's right. You said...
In the beginning of the season, I said they're definitely making it kind of easily, actually.
And then, but now then at the post-All-Star break, you said absolutely not.
Not making.
Yeah.
Not making the playoffs.
I did my best Mora imitation by said, playoffs? You're talking about playoffs?
That's right.
And so I think that was a clear no as well. And we were both right on that one. Woo!
Yeah. After that, Matthew, we talked about how many wins is Logan Webb going to have. I was really intoxicated at this point during the preseason show. And so I said 22. 22 wins I predicted for Logan Webb. What did you say?
I said 19, and you agreed that was probably more realistic, but both of us were way wrong. Post All-Star break, though, we talked about it, although I didn't give a pick.
You didn't. You just didn't give a pick, and I don't know why. Maybe you were drunk on that episode.
Or you were just talking too much, and I couldn't keep up.
Could have been. But I said 14, so I was one off.
You were one off, yeah. And if you pitched today, maybe they would have gotten it. Who knows?
Yeah. All right.
Well, then we talked about saves for Duvall. Do we want to talk about that?
I do, because he beat my mid-season expectation.
Okay. So at the beginning, though, we were really bullish on him. We were
like, 46.
The Giants are going to win a lot of games.
Yeah.
You were like 46 saves. I was like, maybe 43.
And to be clear, he had 39 the year before. Okay,
right. So that was our starting point. That was where we were coming from.
He actually finished with 23.
Yeah. And post All-Star, so we did our post All-Star predictions right when it was clear that he was going to be demoted from the role.
Right, but they kept him in that role for another couple of weeks, which was surprising to I think both of us. They did keep him in that role, and that's why he beat our estimates. Because I said I didn't think he was going to get another chance, and then I realized, that's probably wrong. He had 17 at that point. And he ended up getting six more saves.
So you said 20.
Mm-hmm.
I said between 17 and 19.
You
so
said,
I was actually...
he had 17 at the time, and you said he wasn't going to get to 20. So
we were both wrong.
We were both wrong because he got 23.
All right.
Yeah.
And then how about saves for Ryan Walker?
Yeah, we added him at the post All-Star break. He was not on our radar, but he wasn't on anybody's radar. Then we realized that he was good. And I don't know what happened to me. It just slipped out of my mouth. But I said 20. And then I was like, that's very hopeful of me. I don't know why I said that, but I stuck with it because it came out of my mouth. I said 20.
And then I said 15, thinking the Giants were going to win 83. So
there you go. That made more sense
more
then.
Bullish.
Yeah, he had 10. He was 10. Mm-hmm. All right.
Then we started talking about 30 home run guys.
Oh, this is a big one. This is where we did it.
Yeah, and so we assumed that Jorge Soler was probably the one that was going to have the most opportunities or the best chance to hit 30. I was like, someone's doing it. It's going to be Jorge Soler. He's going to hit 31, Ben. You were your typical Ben self, and you said
29.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. That's so just to piss me off and the rest of our listeners.
Yep.
Yeah. He actually hit 12 home runs in 93 games for the Giants before he was traded. Just as of last week, this last weekend, he'd hit 21 total.
Yeah, he hit 9 more for the Braves for 21 total.
Chapman, of course, led the team with 27, so he almost hit 30.
Was his last one an inside the Parker?
It was, yeah.
Wow. All right, yeah, 27. He was flirting with it. Almost happened.
He was, yeah. Well, then our post-All-Star prediction, though, we switched.
That's right.
To Elliot Ramos. Because at that time he'd had quite a few, or at least, and so we were like, oh, well, he has the best chance. He ended up hitting 22, Ben, but you predicted
29 again, because we did the math, and at the time it was like he was kind of close.
Yeah, he was on pace to hit 29 or 30. And so, of course, I went 30 and you went 29.
Hold. Matthew?
Yeah?
I have just heard from the judges, and they would like to report that Elliot Ramos hit 8 home runs in AAA when he should have been on the Major League roster. And they have decided to count, at least for Giant Cocktails, those 8 home runs as counting to his total, and therefore he hit 30 home runs. You win!
Woohoo! Woo!
You did it! We did it!
Oh, man.
I didn't think it was going to happen, man. I didn't think it was going to happen.
I got one right.
I got
one right.
I thought I was just going to give that technicality that I had with the whole, with the 76 and 88 wins. I thought that was going to be the best one we had, but you did it, man. You did it.
Okay. Well, first, I'd like to thank the judges for making that decision. I'd also like to thank the Academy.
Right.
I'd like to thank my kids. And don't
know what they had to do.
Maybe I should thank my brother, but probably not.
Well, he's also the judges, so you just did thank him.
Okay, all right. Well, this is the first time it's happened to me. I didn't have a speech prepared, but thank you. I'm happy to
we did it, folks. We did it, and that's it. That's the end of Giant Cocktails. We're wrapping up the podcast.
All right, one last prediction. We talked about the starters, because at that point there was a lot of question marks around who the starters were going to be going forward, right? And so and I think we picked August 15th as the date of predicting what the starting rotation would look like
for the next 5 games August. After that.
Yes. And so Ben, you said Logan Webb, Kyle Harrison, Blake Snell. Bullpen game.
That's right. I felt pretty good about that.
And probably just like that, right? Bullpen game. Yes. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, I will see that. That's plausible. But then I said, I think it's going to be Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, Keaton Wynn, bullpen game.
Yeah, and that was way worse than my prediction. Boy, I'm glad that didn't happen.
See, I don't know how far off either of ours were, though, because I feel like there was
No, so actually, Matthew, get this. The next 5 games were started by Logan, not in this order, but by these guys. Logan Webb, Blake Snell, Robbie Ray, Kyle Harrison.
Oh, I didn't have him.
And Hayden Birdsong. And none of those were bullpen games. We did have one bullpen game where Eric Miller opened 1 game, and then Jordan Hicks made one of his last few starts. But all 37 other games between July 19th and August 30th were started by those 5 guys. We had a legit 5-man rotation from the 19th of July through the 30th of August. And the Giants had a winning record during that period of time. They were 21-18 for a .538 winning percentage. And you know what that would have translated to for a full season, Matthew?
I'm guessing just outside a playoff spot.
You would be right. 87 wins, my friend. And given what happened to the D-Bags today, it looks like 90 is what it's going to take to get you in. So even with that vaunted rotation, And I get it. Hayden Birdsong was not part of the vaunted rotation, but folks, what Farhan Zaidi was imagining in his head was never going to happen. 87 wins. That's what we could have expected. So yeah, things were actually better than we thought they were going to be. Then in September, they got really bad. But that was kind of when it was clear the Giants weren't going to make the playoffs. So there you go. Those are the predictions. That's how we did. And it wasn't great.
I got one right. That's all I'm hearing.
You got one right, and I got one right. And yeah,
are you counting your win total as being right?
I'm totally counting. I'm counting that one twice because I got it right at the beginning of the season, and then I got it right because I only missed by one game at the midseason, dude. I nailed it. I nailed it.
Stay tuned in next season, folks, when I predict the Giants will have between 20 and 162 wins.
If you win 19, if they only win 19 games next year, man, it's going to be your fault.
Oh, man, it will be my fault. All right, Ben. Well, I think that's going to be the end of our 260th episode. But before we do that, we got to answer the trivia question. The question was, when was the last time the Giants went 80-82 in a season? And I thought, I'll look through this up and just find out when that was.
Yeah, easy peasy.
Easy peasy. Ben, the answer is the Giants in their entire history have never finished at 80-82. Now, 162 games started in 1962.
Okay.
So that's where you kind of have to start. But in 1975, they finished at 80-81.
Oh.
But didn't play the 167th game. Obviously, it got rained out somewhere, and it didn't matter in any of the playoff races, so they just didn't play it. So the Giants have never finished at homeostasis in their history of their franchise.
Until the 2024 Giants came along and said, this is what we're going to do. This is who we are. And so they took ownership of it. They took that record and they made it their own. It's the 2024 Giants record. Never to be done again.
That's right. Hopefully. Okay, real quick, just because I think this is funny. Name a player on the team that nobody remembers played for.
That nobody remembers played for the Giants. Well, I'm going to go.
We call this the Farhan Special.
The Farhan Special. I'm going to go with Ryan McKenna.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. You know what's interesting about Ryan is that he stole a base for the Giants.
Without a hit.
Without a hit. That's right. And do you know how many stolen bases he had, like the total percentage of stolen bases he had for the Giants this year?
Well, it must have been quite high since he got a stolen base.
It was 1.5%. He stole 1.5% of all the bases that the Giants stole this year. He outstole a lot of San Francisco Giants. A lot.
His 6 games that he played.
With his one stolen base. Yeah, that's right. Ryan McKenna.
All right, mine, Raymond Burgos. I didn't make that name up.
I was going to say, you made that name up.
No.
That's a fake name.
Not. Raymond Burgos played for the Giants. Go look him up.
Yeah. Apologies to Bowman.
Yeah, just because we mentioned him last week.
Yeah,
Raymond Burgos, 1 game, 1 inning for the Giants.
Yeah.
Gave up 3 hits, gave up a run, had 1 strikeout though. So in his career, he's got a strikeout.
Nice.
Yeah. All right.
Good for him. More strikeouts than I have.
This is when we usually look ahead, Ben, to who the Giants are playing next. The opponents for the Giants over the next 3 months are Major League Baseball agents.
And Farhan Zaidi.
Fair. Do
you want to tell them when we would next be showing up here?
Our plan is to go weekly now. If Farhan gets fired this week, folks, I am on a work conference starting on Tuesday. So if he gets fired between Tuesday and Saturday, Ben's going to be the guy. He's going to get in and he's going to give you all the insight. So I'm sorry for that in advance.
That's right. Solo.
I will text him some of my thoughts and we'll see how he integrates that. But I will not be available during that time. So if Farhan gets fired, I will be sad to not be there with Ben to just revel in his pleasure. But
wow. Listen, nobody wants to see this happen. It's about what has to happen. It's not about this isn't what we want. This is what we need.
Okay, pleasure is a strong word, but you will be. I think you'll be grateful that it happened.
I'll be relieved. I'll be relieved.
Okay, relieved.
Well,
That's a good word.
Farhan will
That's
be
a good word.
relieved and I'll be relieved. Unless he isn't, in which case neither of us will be.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you'll see us next Sunday. And we will, on next Sunday, we'll actually talk all about the Farhan regime and whether he deserves some more chances and all the stuff that goes with Farhan. We'll break that down. And then the following week, we'll maybe do that with Bob Melvin and the coaching staff and kind of give our take on that. Because frankly, it's the off season, and what are you going to talk about? So those are the things we're going to bring up over the next couple weeks. Hopefully, you guys can stop by and give us a listen. All right. Having said that, don't forget to follow us on the socials at Giant Cocktails on Twitter and Instagram. I do want to say thank you to those of you who, as soon as the Giants lost today, were tweeting at me, Homeostasis. That was awesome. I had a DM and some tweets. It was awesome. We all think alike, man, because I actually went onto Twitter to actually tweet Homeostasis, and I see all these people doing it. So that was great.
And I don't do Twitter. I was just going to text it at Matthew.
That's right. That's right. We were texting to each other. But also, you can also follow us on Threads and Mastodon. Also, don't forget to follow us on YouTube, where you can hit that little bell and get notifications when we publish, as well as leave comments on those episodes. And don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That would be greatly, greatly appreciated. And some of you have been doing that. So thank you so much for doing that. Ben, it's been good talking with you. I've really enjoyed this season.
You enjoyed this season of Giant Cocktails.
I did. As far as, it's actually one of the favorite things I do. And I look forward to talking with you twice a week about the Giants because, that's what we do. And, I wish they had played a little bit better, but it's always fun to sit back and have a cocktail while talking about the Giants. So it was good chatting with you once again. Until next week, my friend. Cheers.
Well, I agree, Matthew. It has been one of my favorite things as well. I really do enjoy Giant Cocktails. Unfortunately, a lot more than I enjoy Giants baseball. Cheers to you as well, Matthew. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Giant Cocktails Podcast. Until next time, bottoms up.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah. You know what? The Spanish saying is not the same thing. It isn't? It's nadie como nosotros, which is a way better slogan. There's nobody like us.
I love that.
I'm like, why isn't that the saying in English? Nothing like it.
Nadie como nosotros.
It's like they had a much better saying right there.
Yeah, because their Spanish marketing team is way better.
Well, and they were like, because they were like, well, we can't translate that into Spanish. It doesn't sound right. It does not sound good. Like, maybe that should have been a hint. But one game better than last year.
All right, improvement. Woo.
Hey, if they keep doing this, Matthew.
In 10 years, they'll make the playoffs. I guess in 10 years, they might make the playoffs.
That's right. They might make the playoffs.